How's it going? This is Rick at Ralph, and today I'm continuing my opening theory segment. Unfortunately, I have limited recording time, so I wasn't able to show you everything that I wanted to. So before I move on to showing the two bishops opening that I promised, I'll have to finish talking about the camels because I didn't really get a chance to show you the phonetic way to handle the camel opening. And I did show a little glimpse of it in the other video, but I didn't explain it. When you play the camel opening, before I showed this move, this is actually not the best move to play against it. I didn't want anybody to think that was the best move and you had to get stuck with that crazy variation. But really, there's a few main openings. Actually, let me fix the starting position because this needs to be just right to show the first one. The first way to deal with this is called a lion defense. And this actually works regardless of where the lion is placed, but it tends to do a little bit better with a high lion only because your lion's just a little bit closer to the center of the board. Technically, you could do it with either one of these pawns going forward. I prefer to do the one directly in front of the lion, and the reason it comes down to how the pieces develop later in the game. I'll explain that if I have time at the end. So, concept here is if white tries to go here, you can bring this lion up, and the white has really no way to get in those forks we were talking about in the last video. And furthermore, he actually prevents any assault from this camel too, because as you see, he's guarding all of these sensitive squares. This is a really immediate and safe, solid way to handle this opening. The only real downside to this is that your bishop will be immediately hampered on whatever side you go to, which is another reason why I recommend bringing this lion up, because there's a maneuver that I call a backswing, and this will make it to where the bishop being in the way is not really a big deal. So the other way, this is a more critical way to handle it. This just kind of takes the pressure off of you without having to commit your center pawns right away. So it's kind of like a call it semi-classical method. And the idea here is if they go here, this bishop covers it. I showed this in the last video from the opposite side, and you can just move your prince up. This is a very common move you'll see with the prince. It's just better to get the double move with the prince, and it helps them get into the position better. Generally, your prince won't go much further than this for a good deal of the game, though. This is not the best move from white, though. If white is to stay in the spirit of this opening, what he'd probably want to do is bring his other camel out, and this is I'm going to highlight a little positional trick that occurs in this situation. So what happens here, if you have your opponent push this pawn forward and he has a camel corresponding on this side of the same color, it can actually invite a trap, and this trap occurs when you have a pawn on the light square and a prince on the light square, or if this pawn right here was forward, it would work opposite with the black pawn and the black prince. But the key thing that messes up, let's say you move this prince right here, because this pawn is here, it's an outpost to support the camel, because you do not really want to trade a bishop for a camel, especially this early in the game when so much is undecided in the structure. So he can white can go here, and he's threatening this pawn already. So you feel obliged already to protect it. I mean, you could gambit it, but I would not recommend that at all. It's just probably not even considerable. And then white can go here, and it just, as we're talking, it's best when prince gets a double move. And if you see, there's really just no good place for him to go. This probably might even be the best move right here. But the prince is in front of a pawn, and it could become a target really easily. I mean, he might even be able to do this just right away. But It's just not good. So, but fortunately, this is very easy to counteract. So the idea here, once you see, just remember, once you see the camel and this prince pawn of the same corresponding color, the first thing you can do to buy yourself more time is just develop this opposite prince. But keep in mind that if you move this pawn, now this prince is under attack. But the more direct way to just make sure the threat doesn't hit altogether is to move the opposite knight, or I'm sorry, camel. So this camel right here protects against this square, and ultimately this threat won't go out. So let's just recap. So really, basically, the camel opening comes down to moving here. You could play the line variation. The structures tend to transpose. The main difference is just how your pieces develop. And then generally, most camel opening players will play the second camel out, and this is really just to be annoying. But they might, let's just say they deviate. You could even do a swing maneuver, and this would be a transposition into the two bishops opening that I'm talking about. And from here, maybe this bishop comes out. Some people like to do this. This is a very common structure right here. And this is just for fast development. But generally, you're going to want to swing one of your bishops. I talked about this in the other video. This is a very nice spot right here because the prince doesn't really want to come out now. But you could just counter swing. And this is the symmetrical variation leading into the two bishops defense, which I will cover in the next video. But I would like to get into the knights a little bit, or I'm sorry, the camels a little bit more. One way to play the camel variation is to play with the opposite colors, and this is a dark square strategy, and this is what I'm recommending if you play the camel variation, just because it kind of cuts out a lot of threats, and I don't want to get into it too much because I don't have a lot of time, but basically it gives you more freedom with your pawns. They might try to swing right here, and you just want to try to be aggressive and force them to finish the swing so that it's not hanging in the air. You don't even have to push right here. You can just get your center expanded really easy, and they'll generally just do this by themselves because you don't really want to give up that tempo later when the pawns really start rolling. And then it's generally, there's a lot of move orders you can use, but generally you want to bring this prince up here. This prince might come up here, and we'll see this four pawn center is a very common theme as well. You don't generally want to bring this prince up too quick because I'll just show this. Let's say black goes here, and the problem with this is you get this annoying pin. This is manageable, which I don't particularly care for. One way to stop it is just to go here. Another thing you can do is bring this pawn up, and this move works okay, but the problem with this is in this position it's not too bad, but if they had this advance right here, they could just bring it straight in. Alrighty. So just to recap that before I run out of time, this is the camel variation. Just remember that you need to make this pawn move right here or play the lion system. The lion system is very nice if you don't like to make these kind of critical moves. And we generally see this, and then a bishop swing. It's usually a double swing. I don't know if I highlighted that before. I showed the chasing variation. There's two kinds of just symmetrical right here, and then there's the chasing variation, where you chase the bishop right out immediately, and that's to really heavily discourage them swinging both bishops, because that is a possibility. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful. I will be back to show you, finally, the first legitimate opening theory and all, and keep watching. Peace.